we have come a long way. Some 10 years ago, Nigeria was the barrier of nations when it comes to the international effort to eradicate polio. And we couldn't have gotten where we are today without the efforts of Rotarians around the world in the various areas that are enumerated later of this our struggle to rid the world of polio. We've done marvelously well in Nigeria and Africa, but we still have 2 countries to go. And our promise to the children of the world is world eradication of polio. That first slide for me is very instructive because everything we do, whether we are raising funds, whether we're creating public awareness or advocacy, it all is to get to this goal of getting those 2 precious drops to the mouths of our children below the age of 5. And as I said earlier, we have done very well as far as Nigeria and Africa is concerned. Indeed, the whole world, we're 99.9% the way. And it shows a lot of promise that will soon reach the end of the race. Next slide. This is just to thank all Rotarians once again for that great milestone we are able to achieve by kicking polio out of the African region through our eradication of polio in Nigeria. Next slide. Now, next slide. Now, the first thing is when you achieve a feat like this, you want to look back. What are the lessons you have learned? I think first and foremost is not to be presumptuous, that when you bring something good to people, who will accept it with open arms. You can see, the kind of challenges we're having currently. COVID-19 vaccine. We'll have assumed that bringing something good, we don't have to campaign for acceptance. This is what we did not, foresee, even with polio, that we had a lot of opposition, had to take a lot of strategies. And that brings me to the second point, which is my usual saying that you cannot shave a man's head with absence. It needed to have, started off first by getting the buy-in of those, parents and guardians, and then of our traditional religious leaders.
I can't hear anything.
And community leaders. The third is that disease eradication costs a lot of money.
Sorry, doctor. Sorry to cut you. If you can just be a little louder, slightly.
Okay. I said the third is that disease eradication costs a lot of money. I hope you all remember when we started in 1985. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
That when we started the effort in 1985, the budget to eradicate polio by the year 2000 was $120 million US. Now, right now, we have expended in all $21 billion US. I'm happy to say that out of that amount of money, Rotary has contributed $2.1 billion. And I thank all of you who have, through your contribution to the Rotary Foundation, Polio Plus Fund of the Rotary Foundation, have been able to get us to the point where we could reach this milestone. Next slide. The lessons learned continues. The virus wants to survive. Virus, like every creature, will try to survive by changing their character, their shape, and their size, so that they can survive environments, that are, what shall I say, hostile towards them. And the hostile environment is that we're always looking for new ways and means of getting rid of the virus. The longer it stays, as we are seeing with COVID-19, the longer a virus stays in an environment circulating, the higher the chances of it mutating. second thing is that technology can be a very great ally in disease eradication, as we have seen with polio eradication, both with satellite mapping, house mapping, that enables us to see which areas have population that we need to concentrate on. I think the last and most instructive is the fact that no challenge is unsurmountable. When people come together, remain together, focus on one ideal, success is assured. Next slide. Next. Let's go to the previous one because, that slide, shows the milestone, very important milestone that really kicked us to the start of our polio eradication effort. In 1996, with the prompting of the leadership of Rotary International, President Nelson Mandela of blessed memory encouraged African leaders who at that time had not started any mass campaign to start mass campaign against polio. At that time, we were having 75,000 polio cases in Africa. Within a year, 70% of the countries in Africa has mounted campaigns, and we have reduced, that number to about 20,000 cases. So the Keep Polio Out of Africa campaign was a great watershed in our effort to eradicate polio. Next slide. Next slide. Now you can see where we were in 1985 and where we are today. From 125 countries and 350,000 polio cases in the world to just 140 cases last year in 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, even one case of polio is a child paralyzed and disabled forever. So that is why I said that our job is not done. But we're encouraged that we are making progress. Next slide. This is our march towards free status in Nigeria. You can see that we had 0 case from 2014 to 2016 until we discovered 4 cases in Northeast Borno State that took us back to start counting again. So the last case was in August of 2016. That was what made us eligible for certification last year. Ideally, it's 3 years after no case of polio, but because of our peculiar security situation in the country, it was extended to 4 years until the certification committee was convinced that there's no wild polio lurking anywhere in the country. Next slide. And this is our gradual status to where we were at the end of last year. Next slide. So this is how we approach our work in Nigeria through these 3 thematic areas. Advocacy to ourselves, because as you all know, the turnover of Rotarians is very high. So we need to advocate to our new members the necessity for us to finish the job we've started. We also now need to advocate to political leadership, to the religious leadership, to traditional leadership, and also to parents and guardians of children to appreciate the needs and necessity to have their children immunized. The second prong is creating awareness and community mobilization, which involves, the media, roadwork media in all forms, electronic media, social media, and any available form of communication. Fundraising is crucial, and it's a continuous thing because the goalposts kept shifting, and we will need to continue raising funds. I'm going to elaborate on all of these areas shortly. And of course, field activity that we're doing now. Part of the reason why I'm at the airport is that currently we are having an outbreak response, which is a house-to-house immunization in 4 states in the country, including the FCT, Sokoto, Zamfara, Niger, and FCT. That should have been there yesterday, but for the death of PAG, Susan Omotosho, who was buried today. Next slide. Part of our advocacy effort, when President Barry, Esther visited us 2 years ago, we paid a courtesy call on the president to continue to seek his continued support, for the polio eradication efforts. Next slide. Funding. Most Rotarians do not, realize that, we expend most of the funds that we raise through our 2 major GPI partners, WHO and UNICEF. And on an annual basis, we pass through UNICEF and WHO approximately $150 million. Next slide. For media advocacy, some of you may have watched channels this morning. That is part of what we do. This morning we were talking about COVID-19, but what gives us the impetus to do that is our success with polio eradication. Next slide. These are roadworks. Some of you have participated in a lot of these over the years, just creating awareness in the public. Now, these efforts have not been without challenges. Numerous, but the main ones, as I mentioned earlier, the anti-vaccine groups. At some point in time, they are still there, but they are fringe elements now. They have not had any negative impact efforts. Our, kind of inadequate primary healthcare system that led us to have the kind of low routine immunization coverage we have in this country now. Our coverage on the average across this country is about 50%. It ranges from about 10% in Sokoto State to about 5% in Lagos State. That is an area that we need to work on as Rotarians, because in the long run, eradicate polio and other diseases, continue to ravage, our community, then our work is not fully done. Currently, vaccine-derived poliovirus is, major problem. We don't have enough time for me to delve into this, but if you have any questions that I can't answer during this presentation, you can always send me an email. I'll answer those questions. We're still struggling to make sure that we keep up with our funding gap. And finally, COVID-19 has come calling and has kind of impacted negative our polio eradication efforts. Next slide. Next. Our funding has been adversely affected by the outbreaks, because we now have to spend a lot of money in the outbreak response, just like we're doing this weekend. We just rolled out a new vaccine for polio to try and combat this vaccine-derived. I mentioned earlier, COVID-19 has set us back, and there have been setbacks in Afghanistan and Pakistan as a result of anti-vaccine, groups, negative propaganda, and also threats to the lives of our frontline workers, including security agencies. And also, we've had increased political and economic constraints at country level, not only in Nigeria, but across the world. Countries are now looking at, well, we finished with polio in Nigeria and Africa. Let's take our resources elsewhere in areas of priority. And there are a lot of, we cannot blame them. It's just going to make our advocacy efforts more difficult, but it can be done. Next. Next slide. So these are current budgetary situation. Our approved budget for next year, this year rather, it's almost $1 billion. We have available resources either pledged or in the kitty of about 800 million. we estimate the cash gap of about 470, because like I said earlier, with these vaccine-derived polio cases, the cost of eradication may continue to gallop. Next slide. I think when we are soliciting for funds, Rotarians have the right and other donors have the right to ask, why do you still need all this money? What do you spend it on? This pie chart, shows quite clearly those areas of most importance to us now. The first are campaigns. We spend about 35% of our budget in ensuring that, we mount these effective campaigns, immunizing children house to house. The second is surveillance. Now, surveillance is the means by which we detect any case of polio in any part of the country. It's a very robust, very expensive system because in every nook and cranny in this country, we have informants. Informants are linked to trained surveillance officers who know how to collect samples, get these samples to our reference lab to determine whether that paralysis is due to polio or not. There are quite a number of other viral diseases and also trauma that can lead to children being paralyzed. You can see we also support WHO, UNICEF, technical assistance, and communication and social mobilization. Next slide. So just a reminder that, we have this, very fantastic partnership with the Gates Foundation, where the Gates Foundation matches for every $1, $2, up to a total amount of $50 million every year for 3 years. This current understanding will go on till 2013. So we need to raise this minimum of $150 million over a 3-year period. In other words, we need to raise $50 million every year. And all clubs are expected to pay a part of this. We join all clubs, including yours, to put in at least $1,500 into the Polio Plus Fund of the foundation. And you get credit for it, either individually and also collectively. Next slide. So this is a direct admonition to all Rotarians, including you, to donate to the Polio Plus Fund of the Rotary Foundation. You still get credit, for it towards a Paul Harris Fellow or towards a major donor. Look out to participate in the field, in actually immunizing children, and also keeping your eyes on the vaccination team to make sure that they're doing the right thing, that the vaccine, cold chain system is functioning properly, that the houses are marked normally, and that the vaccination teams are properly trained for the work they're supposed to do. And then, of course, we still need to continuously promote polio eradication through print, electronic media, social media, because we need to keep polio at 0 in Nigeria. Our work is not done. Next slide, please. So COVID-19 has its good side and not too good side. Next slide. It has led to us seizing mass campaigns at the height of the pandemic. We had to seize our campaigns, particularly in Pakistan, Afghanistan, led to increase in polio cases. Families could not access primary healthcare centers for routine immunization, and that also impacted on polio eradication efforts. And then, of course, funds that have been spent on polio eradication had to be diverted in order to fight the pandemic. So that is the negative aspect of the pandemic as far as polio eradication is concerned. But then, there are positive sides. Next slide. And the positive side is, that it has taught us, how to repurpose our polio resources to kickstart the response. If we did not have the polio emergency operating centers across the country, particularly in the north, and the national one in Abuja, all the resources that were required, training, surveillance systems, identifying cases, and contact tracing will have started much slower and will have become more expensive. The next one is testing up polio legacy. We're already working on how do we, transfer the infrastructure we've created for polio to fight other health issues. So this has given us a test run of, yes, this thing works, because our polio eradication resources were actually put to use for the pandemic. And also it's given us opportunity to learn new lessons and how to surmount them. Next slide. That is part of the public awareness campaign we mounted at the beginning of the pandemic last year. These are actually virtual billboards. Next slide. And also we put up many flyers on a regular basis over several months during last year. Next slide. Now we got involved with giving food palliatives. I'm sure your club also did some. We provided masks also for those who couldn't afford them at that time. Next slide. Now, vaccine advocacy is a very major aspect of what we're doing now. Board of Directors of Rotary International has actually joined Rotarians across the world to play a key role in advocacy for the COVID-19 vaccine. Political leaders, to opinion leaders, and to the target population. Next slide. I just listed, advocacy vehicles, media in all its forms, electronic media, print media, social media, flyers, billboards, and also our personal contacts. Rotarians are the most mobile people socially, and we should use this, our contacts to make sure that there's a good vaccine uptake. This sample of the billboards that are going to go up soon. This the famous comedian Ali Baba, who was self-hospitalized, for COVID-19, who has come out as a good proponent, major proponent for people to take the vaccine. So with his, permission and support, we are putting up billboards to get his message across. We're also having advocacy from billboard advocacies from Potential, from Sani Danja, and also from Aki Sugar. Next slide. So post-COVID, well, we cannot wait for post-COVID. We just waited for a lull and we started our house-to-house immunization, our outbreak response, efforts to strengthen routine immunization by supporting, primary healthcare centers. I hope your club has adopted a primary healthcare center where they can help to strengthen routine immunization by providing aids like mosquito netting, which will attract mothers to bring their children to immunization centers, soaps, water. And in some cases, clubs have actually dug boreholes for primary healthcare centers that do not have clean drinking water. And of course, we have also resumed advocacy, even though some of them are done virtually. Next slide. So the big prize has been world polio eradication. That is what we're looking for. I'm sure with what is happening now in Afghanistan and Pakistan, we have twice as many cases in the first half of last year as we had in the last half of last year. And so far this year, we've had just 2 cases of polio, both in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So there's light at the end of the tunnel that in fact, there's a high probability that we'll see our last case of polio in the world this Rotary year. I'm optimistic, but we need to work to make sure that that happens. So next slide. As we work to keep polio at zero, we must continue to observe the COVID-19 protocols of wearing our masks. We don't have to go out, stay at home, and regular hand washing or using hand sanitizers when water and soap is available. So we need to ensure that we continue immunizing children in this country so that we keep our promise to the children of the world without polio. Thank you very much, for patience, for listening.
Thank you so much, sir, for the presentation. It was wonderful, and I'm sure everybody else here agrees to that. I will let my charter president, Dr. Rotarian Sunit Debroy, take it up from here. CP.
Yes. Thank you so much, Doctor. And first of all, we again congratulate you for the big milestone achievement. Of course, the big ticket is still awaited. Doctor, one quick question. How much time do you have? Because I understand you are in the airport and you're waiting for your flight to take off.
No, they've not announced my flight yet, so we can continue.
Okay, excellent. Because that gives me a high blood pressure, so I should come down, and it's okay for now. Great. Can we were just thinking that we will observe a 1 minute silence for our PAG Rotarian Susan Omotosho. She was personally and through our club involved in many things, many activities of our club. She was also present during our charter ceremony. This morning, I have shared the photograph in our club group. So can we have a 1 minute silence and then we take it up from there? Yeah, President, can we have a 1 minute silence?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. And I'll be the timekeeper. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We pray that the departed soul may rest in peace. Thank you. Dr. Tunji, we were very excited to have you, and I am joined with my fellow member Rotarian Abhishek to, with your due permission, to ask you some interesting questions about the position that you have attained and through polio and in the world. Dr. Tunji, how Time Magazine has announced that you are amongst the 100 most influential person in the world. When you hear that, how do you feel and how do you take it when you first heard it?
What was the last bit?
How do you take it when you first heard it that you're among the 100 most influential people in the world? How did you take it? What came to your heart? And
number one, it's a surprise, for me, because I didn't see anything extraordinary that I've done. But when I now, put two and two together, I realized that, this was an accolade to Rotary. And I'm just, the poster boy let me put it that way, of Rotary International effort to eradicate polio, then, I relaxed a little bit, I'm quite grateful and humble, that I happen to have turned out to be the person who is the face of Rotary as far as polio eradication is concerned. It was quite gratifying and humbling.
Doctor,
congratulations, sir. Very well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a humble reply. And, passing it on to the greater community of Rotary, it is really a humbling experience to listen to your answer.
Thank you.
I really, it gives me a separate feeling when I hear that it is among the 100 most influential people in this world. Out of 8 billion people, you are among the top 100 influential people. Excellent. And thank you so much. It is a proud moment to speak to you. I would like my fellow member, Dr. Abhishek, to come out with his questions. Dr. Abhishek, are you online? Hello.
Yeah,
Dr. Abhishek?
Yeah, you need to unmute. Abhishek, Rotarian Abhishek, you need to unmute.
Thank you, OP. Thank you, CP, for your giving me this opportunity, and the entire club for having Rotarian Dr. Tunji Funsho amongst us. It's really very encouraging, and the entire talk was nothing less than amazing, Dr. Funsho. So I have a question. I was looking at your slide. In 2006, there's a sudden peak in polio cases in Nigeria. So it peaked in 2006 and then started gradually coming down, if I'm not wrong. And what was the mood then in Rotary? Because it's kind of a setback that you suddenly see the peak in 2006. And then when you were able to curve, how did the team take the challenge and took it forward?
What was the second question?
So what was the mood in Rotary at that time? And taking us back to 2006, 2007 times, and then the entire challenge, how was it taken by the committee, and how did we move forward from there and came to this level?
Well, that was the consequence of the boycott of the oral polio vaccine by about 6 or 7 states in the northern part of the country, who, because of the negative propaganda about the polio vaccine, totally stopped giving vaccination for almost 3 years. And that gradually, that was in 2002, 2003, and we started seeing the consequences of that beyond just those 2-3 years. And that is why you found that peak. And what did Rotary do and our partners? Advocacy. We engaged the traditional leadership, we engaged religious leadership, and that is one of the beauty of Rotary. Like MTN, everywhere you go, we did there. So we're able to make these inroads of advocacy to convince people, apart from what the federal government did of raising a group of, both scientists, religious leaders, and traditional leaders, to travel to essential parts of the world, including South Africa and Malaysia, to actually see that, there's nothing wrong with the vaccine. That collectively led to those states coming back to immunize, and the rest of the country, in the northern part of the country in particular, accepting the vaccination.
Thank you so much, sir. And just related to this same issue that you faced in 2006, with regards to COVID as well, there's a lot of wrong notions within the society. A lot of people on the street don't believe that COVID-19 exists. Do we have a COVID-19 advocacy committee or similar committee within the Rotary, the way we had for polio, perhaps? And are we taking it as a threat as well, that people will come out to take vaccine or they will not come out to take vaccine with regards to COVID-19?
Yes, I mean, Rotary International, is concerned, about, the anti-COVID-19 vaccine campaign, and has actually sent mails to all clubs. I'm sure your club will have received a letter either directly from RI or through the district governor about the need for us to get very involved, with the COVID vaccine rollout. And we've held meetings with the leadership, Rotary, the district governors, the district polio chairs, and the state reps, for polio. And that information and the training is going to cascade down to the club level to include club presidents and club polio plus chairs. So we have a major role to play in vaccine advocacy as far as COVID-19 is concerned.
Thank you so much. Over to CP.
Doctor, one question was coming to my mind, and it's on a lighter note, that while you were doing the advocacy, can you share with us a very funny moment that you were surprised to encounter that situation when you were trying to do something?
Funny woman.
A funny moment.
A funny moment.
Yes,
Yeah.
while you were trying to do advocacy for polio.
Nothing comes to mind, straight away. Most of our moments in polio eradication have been very sobering, moments, really. Meeting, the last case of polio in Kano, it's a 3-year-old girl, whose father is a farmer, the mother is a homemaker. She doesn't live in Kano. She lived about an hour and a half normal drive from Kano, but because the road is very bad, it takes you 4.5 hours to get there. To hold such a child in your hands is very sobering. And it energizes you to want to make sure that doesn't happen again. Because a normal child, girl child in a rural area, has very, very little chance of reaching her full potential. Not to talk of a paralyzed girl in a rural environment. So most of the moments we encounter are either sobering or, they are motivating. When you see field worker, for instance, in Sokoto, who would, use her own resources, to take ice packs across the border to Niger to freeze them and then bring them back to Nigeria to make sure that the vaccines our team are going to use is cold. Those are the kind of things, yes, that motivate. So those are the kind of things generally that, you come across. They're either sobering or they're highly motivating for you to want to continue doing the work you're doing.
Excellent, excellent. I believe that there are some questions from members who would like to ask the doctor. So can we request the members to represent themselves and to come up with the questions?
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Good evening.
Please go ahead.
And congratulations on the great feat.
Thank you.
One question readily comes to mind when you are talking about the change in the trajectory. In 2016, owing to the lackadaisical attitude of some state government in following through with the vaccination as it should be. And, that's, tore my heart. Yes, we are celebrating, the achievements, our achievements regarding polio right now. But what happens in another 5 years? Advocacy is continuous. And I want to believe that, we are putting structures in place to ensure that, this same thing does not repeat itself, especially when we think about, the area where it's happening in the interland, where education is not at the forefront. And so my worry is, what structures are we putting in place to ensure that we do not have a change in trajectory going forward? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, having succeeded, in being certified polio free, there are two major things that we need to ensure. One is to improve our routine immunization coverage, as I mentioned earlier, by supporting primary healthcare centers in our locality. All of us can do a bit. They say little drops, make an ocean. I think that is one important. The second thing is to continue doing immunization campaigns to boost, the routine immunization coverage. So that is why every year, even with polio eradication status in Nigeria, we're going to be having 2 national immunization days. In addition to the outbreak responses, we are going to mount at least 3 times this year. Excuse me.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Yeah,
Thank you.
This takes me to my second question. Sorry, President.
Yeah, go ahead. No, somebody was raising their hand. Please go ahead.
Okay. My second question is on COVID. I have read severally in different quarters, that this particular vaccination is not to stop, COVID. It's not to, there has been a lot of things over the net that it's not really to stop it. It's not for you to, you have to continue wearing your mask. You have to continue protecting yourself. It will not, it's not foul-proof to say, oh, I've taken the COVID vaccination, so I can, do away with the mask. I can live my regular life now. So what exactly is the point in, taking the vaccination? If I still have to be covered up, if I still have to wear my mask, if I still have to wash my hands, if I still have to do all that, I thought, the vaccination, then I don't get it and I don't give anybody. But then it's all the same story. I'm worried. What's happening?
Well, there are 2 things here. The vaccine protects you either from very severe disease that can get you hospitalized, or totally prevents you from having the disease, at all. But it does not stop the virus colonizing your upper respiratory system. You will not get sick because your body will not allow the virus to enter your system and replicate and cause all the problems that lead to severe disease and death. But you can still infect people who are not immunized. And that is why we plead with people who are immunized to continue wearing their masks until we have what we call herd immunity, when at least 70% of the population are immunized. So the chances of you giving the infection to somebody else and killing them is 0. So we're doing 2 things here. We're ensuring that by giving you the vaccine, you are safe from severe disease which will kill you. But that also, if you wear your mask, you are protecting other people who have not been immunized being infected. I think it's very important to get this clear because I've had that question severally. Why should I continue wearing my mask? The reason is that you can still harbor the virus, though it may not cause you disease.
So
but you can pass the virus to somebody else who is not immunized and kill them.
So we might have to continue wearing the mask till the herd is immune.
That's right. That's correct.
And that's a long time.
Very well, Doctor. Thank you.
I think we have someone, Galaxy Note 10, raising hands. I don't know who that is. If you can ask a question.
I think that is me. Let me just see whether it's me or it's somebody else, because I'm using Galaxy. Yeah. This is Dr. Agnes Lutkai.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rotarian Tunji, thank you very much for your chat, and I really applaud you and Rotary International for what we are doing. But my question is around whether Rotary is thinking of a project to help those who already have got polio. And why I'm asking this question is because I was challenged in 2016 when, as part of the KPMG team, we organized a walk to help a project in the north where they were helping people who already have polio to continue with their livelihood and get wheelchairs, etc., etc. And what the guy said is that everybody seems to be thinking about helping the prevention, but what about the ones who already have? Who is helping them? Who is taking care of them? So I was just wondering whether there's any thoughts about having a project to help those ones who already have polio. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that was a very pertinent question. We do, have projects for polio survivors. The Nigerian National Polio Committee, almost on an annual basis, provide at least 1,000 tricycles at the main one, because tricycles does not require anybody to push you. You can propel yourself. And we provide this for both young, children to go to school, and for adults to be able to get to work or do a vocation. We have 2 centers, one in Jos, actually 3, one in Jos, one in Kano, and one in Kaduna that we support, who actually produce these tricycles, and they themselves are polio survivors. So that is one aspect, mobility. The other aspect is that but for COVID-19, about twice a year, our past RR president, Raja Sabu, brings a team of Indian doctors, to Nigeria to train orthopedic residents in polio corrective surgery and do polio corrective surgeries as well. And the last time they came, they did about 600 polio corrective surgeries.
Wow.
So we have that. We also have a partnership with the, polio survivor group, who invented para soccer. I don't know whether any one of you has watched them. This is played, on roller skates. It's a marvelous game to watch. And so we support them to do the annual national championships. So every year, usually around World Polio Day, is when we do the finals. And many states in the country participate in that competition. So we are engaged with, polio survivors as well.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. Next time somebody asks that question, I'll remember. Thank you.
Well, the other thing is that if you're a Rotarian, you can get your club, to, do some of these tricycles. They are reasonably inexpensive. We get them from between 30, and 40,000, naira, each. And if you have large orders, you get a discount on it. So it's a worthwhile project. Even if you just do 10, that's a lot of people who are being helped. So you can think about it at a club level.
Excellent.
I got to go now.
Right, sir. So, Doctor, I would just like our president-elect to just say a few words, and then we'll free you. I'm sure you have to catch the flight. Just a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, OP, for giving me a chance to say a word of thank you to Dr. Tunji. Obviously, we would have loved to have you with us for some more time, but then, yeah, I understand that you have spared your valuable time for us. And thank you so much for this informative, educative, and almost very eye-opening talk that you have given us. And I'm extremely privileged to be talking to one of the 100 most influential person in the world, one of the 100 most influential person in the world. Thank you so much. We wish you a safe flight. And thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir, for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wish you a safe flight. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All the best.
Thank you, my AG.
Thank you,
sir.
Doctor.
Thank you for
Thank
AG
you, sir.
Yemi Tilaja for making this possible. And I really appreciate all the time you put into it and ensured that we had doctor on our screens today. Thank you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
It was so informative.
Right. And thank
So,
you everyone for participating. And yes, CP, please go ahead.
At the outset, I like to thank you for organizing such a nice talk. It was very good, very, very well attended. Congratulations to you and your team. Excellent. And we look forward to having more programs like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Of course, we have not finished. We did not finish all our questions. Rotarian Abhishek had a long list of questions. So I'm sure that he has kept it in store. And next time when we see Dr. Tunji,
I would say
we
instead
will
of
jump
keeping
onto
it,
him.
what can happen is you can put those questions across on email, and we'll forward it through AG to Dr. Tunji, and I'm sure we'll get responses for some of them, so which we can share with other members at a later date.
And we are very, very honored and privileged to have Rotarian Pandit from Nairobi and Rotarian Shashikant from Mombasa, and our own AG, Rotarian Yemi, our friends and Rotarians from all over the world, our friends of Rotary. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, my AG.
With permission of all, if we have any other points to discuss, otherwise I would call this meeting to a close.
I would like to say something, please.
Yes, please.
I'm liking Rotarian Abhishek's look.
Yes, it's a new look. I was avoiding mentioning it on this platform, but yes, it suits him very well.
I know. Yes, Rotarian Abhishek is looking very, very different and very good.
Since PE has taken my name, I'll just want to. There's something very remarkable about the whole thing was the efforts that the polio committee is making during COVID. You know.
Yes.
So acknowledging it as a challenge and trying to overcome that grit, that determination is really great.
Absolutely.
And the entire talk was amazing and very motivating in a way. So thank you for organizing this talk to the entire.
Thank you for attending. With this time, it's past 10 in India, almost 10:30 right now.
10:30 now.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you all for attending.
For the compliment.
Yeah.
You're most welcome. And it was a genuine one.
Okay.
Good.
All right, everyone. Have a good evening.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye. Good evening.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for joining up, all of us. Thank
Yes.
you.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.